Alright, hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Jeff here again, of course, or you wouldn't have clicked on me, right? So anyway, after a previous video I did recently on the blind buy situation, I got to looking through my collection and thinking more about the idea of blind buying and why I do it occasionally, and the reasons behind it and the outcome. And I found another one that once I started kind of considering it and looking further, I found that it's kind of also connected to another blind buy from many years ago. Anyway, you'll see what I mean. So a few months ago, maybe, I don't know, somewhere last year, I picked this up. The band Alias album Contraband. I don't even know what exactly, I mean, the cover wasn't super appealing. It wasn't like it caught my eye. I don't know why I grabbed it. I used to know some guys in a band called Alias, obviously not the same band, and maybe that's what drew me to it. So I picked it up, pulled it out. I looked at the back, which of course is covered now, but you can see the same thing right here on the inner sleeve. But I started looking at it, and it's okay, it's 1979, and it's kind of got a, interesting country type feel to the packaging, nothing major. But then I started looking at the players. Okay, so it's got three main players, which I guess the band Alias is made up of JoJo Billingsley, Dorman Coburn, and Jimmy Doty. But then it's got accomplices, and this is what, of course, had me pick it up. Because we've got on drums, Artemis Pyle, on keyboard, Billy Powell, and on bass, Leon Wilkerson. Now, any good Southern rock fans going to know those are the three guys from Lynyrd Skynyrd who had survived the plane crash 2 years earlier than this album. They were the three of the surviving members of the Skynyrd band, and here they are on here together. Then it gets even better, at least for me. Another name, other people that produced and did some functions on this album, Mylon Lefevre. Now, I've mentioned him before too. In '79, he was more or less solo, had a bunch of mainstream hits, had grown up in the Lefevres, written a lot of hits for other people, including Elvis, was kind of a big name. And in '79, here he is doing some producing and who knows what else. So I bought it. And I really bought it because of the Skynyrd connection, as a Skynyrd fan. So, it's kind of like when I think about movies. Sometimes I'll watch a movie based on who's in it just because I like them. And then it turns out it's a flop. And I'm sure you've had that happen. Oh, I really love so-and-so. And then you watch a movie and you're like, why the heck did he do that movie? That movie sucked. So you either, but you're going based on, hey, I like him in most movies. And so you take a chance. And sometimes when he's taking a chance, it doesn't work out. Musically, it's very similar. I look at bands I don't know, and I look for, like I mentioned in the other video, I look for people I do know. And I'm like, well, if they were involved in it and I appreciate their other stuff, then maybe I will appreciate this. So, I grabbed this. Now, is it fabulous or is it a flop? I would say it's in between. It didn't blow me away, but it definitely is not a flop. It is a good, has a Southern rock feel. I wouldn't say, as all Southern rock at times can feel kind of countryish. It's got that feel, but I'm not a huge country fan, so it definitely doesn't appeal to any country side of me that would look at that way. But of course, from Georgia, it's going to be that kind of stuff. From '79, so it's going to be that kind of a sound. '79, Southern rockish. It's not like high-powered energy like Skynyrd, but it's good stuff. But yes, so it was definitely a buy that I was appreciative of having, and I got it. Now, the thing that got me thinking about it, so 1979, 2 years after the Skynyrd plane crash, we've got three of the guys from Skynyrd in this band. Now, we know in '87, 10 years after the plane crash, 7 years after this album, those guys got back together with the other Skynyrd survivors and did a tribute concert. And then we know a couple years later, in '91, most of them, or Billy and Leon, were back with Skynyrd with a new band lineup and continued on for many years as Lynyrd Skynyrd. But all of this is more recent. So we know Skynyrd back in the day. I knew Skynyrd crashed. I knew who Billy Powell was, whatever. In 1985, I ran across another. This would be a blind buy too. I ran across this album. Saw it in the bookstore. Somebody's and it had a big sticker on it with Billy Powell of Lynyrd Skynyrd. So of course I drew me to it. I immediately bought it. This is you can see him here, right there. And so I bought this again, blind buy, strictly based on the fact that it had a member from Skynyrd in it. Now of course I didn't know about that other album. So obviously they've done some musical stuff. This album has always been a favorite of mine. This was fabulous. This was probably one of the best blind buys that I've bought in a long time. Now this was '85, so we were scrounging for good music. It's very very piano driven, rock and hard rock. Anyway, love this album. Now, jump forward many years later, and in 2010, 10 years ago, Born Twice Records reissued. Okay, so Vision had that album. That's the only album I knew. Later in the years, I read that they had put out a self-released album prior to that, and it was out of print. Never did know anything about it. And that was about it. I knew this one Vision album, have loved it ever since. This is actually my original copy that I purchased in 1985. It has stayed with me that long. In 2010, it was reissued on CD, remastered. Absolutely fabulous, because it never had been on CD. I actually, back in the day, took that album, sent it to a company that turned your vinyl into ripped them over to CD, and had that converted, just because I wanted to preserve it, because it wasn't on CD. Well, in 2010, that was rectified. It did come out on CD. It's a beautiful package altogether. Was thrilled. Well, at the same time, their first album, the one that I could never find, was also reissued. So, and not only do we have Billy Powell, we've also got Leon Wilkerson. So we've got two of the guys from Skynyrd, so three of them on this album in '79, and then in this was like '84, I think, a couple years later. We got two of them appearing in this band. This album is a little more bluesier and probably a little more southern rock, but definitely a hard rock edge, southern hard rock. Whereas this one, some of the songs from this one are on this one, and they are a little more, because this is an actual label, producers, all of that stuff. So they're a little more toned down, not as raw. I love that album. This album to me sounds unfamiliar, but people who love this album say they sound like they, have been tamed a little there. Take it as you will. So this was released in 2010, and I'm telling you, to have another whole album by a band that I have loved since '85, this was a real blessing. And like I say, some of the songs are the same, many of them are not, and they've just got an awesome southerny rock. They're from Florida. They're from right there in the Jacksonville area, I believe, which is where Skynyrd was from. So this one is definitely more southern rock and blues based. The next one's a little more commercialized, but still maintains the radical keyboard playing. The piano Billy tears it up on these albums. But lo and behold, turns out, and I was not aware of this at the time, but in 2010 we also get Vision Street Fighter. What is this? A third album that was recorded in 86 or right around 87? Was recorded but shelved by the record label, never released, and then Billy and Leon went on in '87 to rejoin Skynyrd, and so the band basically fell apart. So now we have this entire 3 Vision set. Started as a blind buy in '85. 2010 we got an amazing set of it on CD of all 3. And then of course, these things happen, and sadly in 2001, Leon Wilkerson passed away at the age of 49. I believe I saw Skynyrd the year he passed away when they had a new bass player, because it was all about tributes. They had all his pictures behind all the stage a lot of the time. Anyway, so yeah, he passed away in 2001. And then in 2009, we lost Billy Powell at the age of 56. And then just 2 years ago, in 2018, we lost Rocco, the singer from Vision, at the age of 63. So 3 out of the 5 guys on this early Vision album are gone, and of course Billy played on all 3 of these albums. So anyway, That was really sad, just reminiscing about that. But yes, so a blind buy for Billy Powell in '85, a blind buy for Billy Powell and others, in in 2000 and when I bought that, like 2019. Anyway, so yeah, I guess you could say I have a leaning and affinity towards things Skynyrd, and I seem to pick those up. Anyway, that's all. Just wanted to share that little story. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I just thought it was neat. Why do you blind buy? Do you blind buy, and why? And what do you look for? Is it artists? Is it certain styles? What's the connection that would say, or is it just, sometimes I buy them just based on the album cover. These guys look like they're going to be up my alley. So, and maybe I'll try to find something like that also. Give me some ideas on what you've done and how you judge what you're going to buy and why. And how did they come out? Fabulous or flops? Thanks a lot. See you later.